Well, we have another guest in the lobby. Shall I admit them?
Yes, please.
I don't know.
Oh. Right, welcome to the August meeting of the Planning, Transport and Infrastructure. I'd be very much obliged. We have an unknown user. If they could identify themselves, please. Hello.
We have an unknown user and somebody identified as Harv.
Okay.
Are you sure, Tracy? Because Harv has just joined. UU's been there for some time.
Yeah, this Harv is the latest one that's joined, and we've got unknown user, so I need to know the names of those. Yes, Terry.
Absolutely. We have.
Welcome, Mr. Baines.
We have
Good evening, members. How are we?
Very good.
Moment, I just need to get into my.
Oh, we have another guest in the lobby.
Good evening, members. Are you started?
We're just about to start. I would like to receive the members present, and then we'll move on to the guests as well in a moment. Members at the end, but we'll start with the members present, please, Clark.
Yes, we have noted we've not received any apologies from Councillor Uranta or Councillor Horton Davis. All of the members of the committee are present, and we have a number of guests joining this evening.
Okay, do we have any declarations of interest from the committee members, please?
Just 1 second, Brian. I'm just going to start the recording of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Right, that recording is now commenced.
Okay, non-committee members. First of all, non-committee members present. I believe that's Councillor Baines.
Yep.
And you are here as an advisor and to give any advice that's necessary. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just need to make that declaration, Chair. As a member of Development Control Committee at Milton Keynes Council, I'm here at your request with regards to planning law and the National Planning Policy Framework only. I will not make any suggestions or advise you on specific items on any of the applications. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, members of the public present, please. Can we take a note of those, please, Clark, if we can?
Chivo's here now.
Yes, we have some that aren't identified on the listing, so we may need to be clear who these people are, if possible, please, Chair.
Okay. As I understand, we have Andrew Herman here, who is specifically here to talk about Willen applications and an update on Portland Drive. We also have an H. Gibbs, a Harv and a Paul 1, who I believe are here to discuss the proposal between 23 and 25, the Oval Oldbrook. Does anybody else wish to add to that, please?
Could you confirm, Chair, that UU has gone now?
Sorry?
Could you confirm that user UU has gone now?
It would appear to, yes.
We have another unknown user in the lobby. Would you like me to admit them?
If you can, and find out who they are, please, if we can.
Just me and them.
Could we identify the unknown user, please? Hello. Appear to have gone again.
Oh, no, they're back in the lobby. I'll admit them again.
If you don't know them, can you be able to remove them as well? Yes. Okay.
Yes, it would be protocol and etiquette in any council meeting. If they wanted to speak or were present, they would declare who they were. So therefore, the virtual should follow the same protocol and etiquette.
Thank you.
Right, the unidentified user should be present now if they want to identify themselves.
Okay, we have an unidentified user with us.
No.
That's that computer.
Oh,
That's that computer.
Could you please identify yourself so that we can move the meeting forward?
Harvey Gibbs.
Thank you.
I know we are wearing masks, but please
no,
just
Harvey
tell
Gibbs
us who
is
you
down
are.
there. Chair, Harvey Gibbs is down on the bottom still. So UU is somebody else.
That's correct.
Am I to understand the unknown user is with Mr. Gibbs? No?
Turn the cameras on.
Have you got your cameras on?
Yeah, I can't see any picture for you.
Not can I.
No, me neither.
I'm not too worried about I'm not too worried about the camera, Chair. But I think, in fairness to the rest of the members of the public, any members of the public before or after any meeting held like this, everyone has actually given their name, and I think it should be the same for everybody.
Yes.
And please, if you fails to do that, I will suggest we remove them from the meeting, please.
If that was a proposal, I would second that, Chair. It's
Okay, thank you. Are we voting on that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you do that, please, Clark?
They're leaving.
Right, okay.
They've left.
They've left. Yeah.
Right. We'll move on to the minutes of the meeting, please, on the 29th of June, 2020, on page 5. Page 6. Bless you, Val.
Thank you.
Page 7. Page 8. And page 9.
I'll propose a true record.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Right. Public involvement, deputations, petitions and questions. Have we received any in writing, Clark, please?
No, nothing received in writing.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, right. On to planning applications, consultations and any other plans brought to the meeting by the clerk that must be considered. In view of the members of the public that I know specifically are here for item number 1V, I would suggest that we bring that forward to the front. If someone could propose that for me, please. If you're happy to do that.
Just accommodating it and consider it, Chair. I'll propose that.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Right, okay. We have an application for on 20/01576/FUL for the demolition of existing garages and erection of new 2-storey dwelling at land between 23 and 25 the Oval, Oldbrook, Milton Keynes, MK6 2TP. Now, members of the public, if you wish to notify us, you wish to say something on this application, will you please put your hand up on the bar where it says where you can put your hand, if you can see that across the bar as indicated there, like that. Should be working, but it seems not to be. Very good. and we will allow you 3 minutes to speak. Just for a point of information, the application for this put forward to the council, on the application form, there is an incorrect statement on question number 17, all types of development, non-residential floor space. The question is, does your proposal involve the loss, gain or change of use of non-residential floor spaces? Note that non-residential covers all uses except use class 3 dwelling house. They have said no, which is incorrect because it involves the loss, gain, change, whatever you want to do of garages which are non-residential floor space. That is incorrect. Incorrectly answered and has a bearing on what we are discussing. Yes, Terry. You're muted at the moment. Terry, you can speak, but you're muted. That's better.
We got you. You got me? No, not
Yes.
yet. Right, okay. Right, you're not absolutely correct there. Garages that are part of a residential dwelling are classed as part of that dwelling. So part
If they are part of that dwelling, but they're not, they're detached.
No, it's still part of the it's still part of the red line of the dwelling house. So therefore, it is legally part of the same thing. It's a minor thing, and I would, if I was you, I wouldn't even go down that route. It's just so minor. It will just be thrown out.
Okay, thank you. Do members of the public wish to speak, please? Does a guest wish to speak? Nobody? Okay.
Excuse me, Chair. I think members of the public, I'm not sure if we have informed them properly that if they want to speak as it stands, they should raise up, click on the raise hand thing. So
that's exactly what I just said.
So I don't know whether they understood that. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly what I just said to you both. Thank you. Right. Does anyone from the committee wish to speak?
Darren is on.
Sorry?
Darren has got his hand up.
Sorry?
Darren has got his hand up.
Has he? That's not come up on the screen. That's weird. Oh, it has now. Go on. Okay, Darren.
Yeah, just to say, Chair, we don't know what the circumstances are or the life experience of the people that join the public meetings. Of course, if they were face to face, they would be briefed beforehand or at the time. But because it's remotely, it may be a technological issue, or the fact that they're not as experienced with Teams as they'd like to be. So unfortunately, unless they wave their cursor over the bar and understand what the different instructions are and what to do, it may well be that they can't speak because they don't know how to mute and unmute themselves, put their hand up, etc., etc. We've not had this before. If we'd have preempted this, I may have asked the clerk to provide a little hint board that she could put up in front of her camera for them to be able to get the most that they can out of Microsoft Teams. Of course, that doesn't help us at the moment, but that might be something that we might want to consider. We might want to look at further down the line, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, I will speak now as the guests do not appear to. One of the guests that is in with us has written objections, which you no doubt will have read if you've done your homework on this application. 23 and 25 are placed down a narrow entrance, and they have a garage each side, which is proposed to be knocked down. And application is from a 4-bedroom detached house for up to 6 people, as it says in the application. 23 is rented through a Milton Keynes Letting Company, which also is renting number 25 as a shared house, is the term I will use. 27 I've spoken to, have not raised any objections. 29 next door, which is also affected round the back, is also under the same letting banner, shall we say. What is being proposed is to knock down the garages and build a 4-bedroom house, as we say. They are proposing that there is 8 parking spaces for the 3 4-bedroom houses in that vicinity, which I believe does not meet parking standards. And that is the only parking areas that will be available. Okay, so I would object on that basis personally, but there we go. Anybody else wish to speak? Terry, would you want to give us any advice on that?
Yes, Chair, I would. Okay, so my advice is to the committee. You need to ask yourself how many spaces are being lost through the front of the garages. Don't forget the garages themselves don't count as parking spaces.
Correct.
Now, how many? Is it 3 4-bedroom houses that will be there then? So,
yes.
Has somebody checked the parking standards? Because I think, don't forget, you're in zone 1, and so that is a reduced parking standard as per the city centre. So, okay, because they are taking a parking space away from 23, you are able to say that this is detrimental to 23. As long as they are not providing the allocated parking and the guest parking which they required. So you do need to look at the standards. I haven't got it with, actually I have got it with me, but it'll take me too long to find it out. No. You will need to work out what the standard is for a 4-bedroom house in zone 1, and including the unallocated, and look where they're offering the allocated. If it is not off-road, it cannot be allocated. That's as far as I can go. Secondly, I would ask the committee to think about the street scene and also the overdevelopment within that part of the street scene. That's as far as I can say. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, does anybody else want to come in there before I come back?
Yeah, please, Chair. I had a look at it today. The house that's going to obviously be built, they're showing on their plans that there is 2 parking spaces directly out the fronts of that new build. So, in theory, they've got their off-road parking of 2 spaces there, but it wasn't very clear on the drawings about where the parking allocation was for the 2 existing houses.
Thank you. The 2 existing.
Can I ask a question for confirmation, Chair?
Yes.
You said that 20. Am I incorrect? Did I hear when you said that 23 and 25 are shared houses?
25 is 100% a shared house for rent. 23 is a family renting. And I know that because I've spoken to the people.
Chair, can I just remind you that the fact it's a shared house, their parking allocation is exactly the same as in zone 1. It's exactly the same as a 4-bedroom house.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. But as far as I understand, from what I looked up, there should be a minimum of 9 parking spaces.
I just want to confirm, Chair, the reason why I asked that question wasn't for the reason about parking. It was for the reason that if sometime or another the agents or the owner of these properties decide that 23 and 25 will be shared accommodation, that will be against housing policy if 23A or 25A, depending on what it is that they call themselves, whatever that new property is called, because it will be sandwiched between 2 shared properties. that is against standard housing policy in this city, Chair.
Absolutely right.
So if the council would find it to do that, there should be some stipulation put in place that 23 and 25 cannot both be shared. Because if 25 isn't shared, you're sandwiching a family home, and so therefore you're breaking policy. And I don't want to see that in Milton Keynes again. And if I do, I will be going to the planning inspectorate myself, because it's not good enough.
Thank you very much. I'm glad someone suggested that. And of course, 25 has not been registered as a shared property, by the way. Make of that what you will. Councillor Baines, you wish to come back with policy again?
I've just managed to find my parking standards out. Right, so okay. The council has identified 4 zones as follows. We are counted as Central Milton Keynes, so that's Zone 1.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that is possibly going to change. I'm just about now going into the pages so you know where you are. This is a C3 residential dwelling, 4 bedrooms. Zone 1 requires 2 parking bays and no one allocated, just 2 parking bays per house. So they actually only legally require 6 parking spaces for the 3 houses. That's because we are in Zone 1. And if you was in Zone 2, it would only be 2, which I find quite strange, with a 1/3 of an unallocated space. So again, it would only be 6 spaces. Hope that helps.
Thank you. Darren, did you want to come back? No, you're not on there.
No, I'm fine, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Anybody else want to come in?
I just want to say is that the concern I've already raised, there is a parking problem in that area. It's a very narrow street, and I would consider it to be overdevelopment. But other people may not share that view.
It's a very narrow entrance to where those 2 houses currently are. And certainly there's no room for turning there.
And I think we should also think about the people that service the infrastructure, whether they be public sector or private sector, be able to gain proper access if this was put in place. And God forbid, if the blue light services needed to get down there, is this going to cause more of a problem that's already there? If it is, I think that is a point that should be explored, Chair.
Okay. Anybody else want to come in? Cubo?
Thank you, Chair. I was just curious. I know about the Oval. Are there not one of those houses that are packed as a circular kind of house? Are they detached houses or or one of them
Detached houses.
They're detached houses.
Yes.
Oh, okay then. Because I know that one side of it is not detached. The one side of it are all big houses across each other. So if there are detached houses, probably put it back to the planning officers. I will be suggesting for a no comment on it as it stands, based on what Ben Terry have read to us.
Did you want to come back in, Terry, before I go back to Darren?
I'm just going through the parking standards. I've just gone into Appendix B. As far as Appendix B is concerned, which is the housing for, which is the parking standards for HIMOs or health shares, is half a space per room. And I'm just looking at the latest version of the appendices to see exactly where Oldbrook is as far as the zones are concerned. And I'm just looking here, plan 2. Yes, bear with me, Chair, I've got to go through these plans. Yeah, I was right. It's actually 2 spaces per house, and it will be, even though that one's a shared house. So the maximum you'll be able to get is 6 parking spaces with no unallocated.
Darren, did you want to come in and make a proposal?
I did make a proposal. I don't know whether that is okay.
Just wondered, Chair, have you looked at the letter from the member of the public? There are a few points in there that are not relevant to planning law, but there are others that may be. From 7 Laker Court.
Yeah. You mean the 45-degree vision?
Yes, etc.
Okay, I've looked at it.
If anybody has access to the portal, if they type in the Ravelry application, it will come up, and the bottom document on associated documents will show a letter from someone who lives at 7 Laker Court. For those who haven't got the portal open, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
I've actually got the portal open, Chair. It's not written very clearly, it's not paragraphed, and it's very, very small font. But if you copy and paste that into a Word document, you can enhance it, and then you can start to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak.
Yeah. Yes, Tracy.
I have the documents available on my PC if you want me to screen share any of the documentation to review.
Just the last one then, please, yeah.
Bear with me just a second, then I'll
With
share it.
objections, yeah.
Okay, I'll share my screen. So is the bottom item J you want me to display?
That's the one, yep.
There's 8 points on there, Chair. As I say, they won't all be relevant to planning law, but some of them may be.
Certainly from 6 downwards probably be the best part to read.
I would say that the bottom of point 2 may need investigating, because of course it depends what the official status of the properties. And I don't know, what you would know better than me, Chair, on how many actual registered HIMOs have got permission or licenses in that area, so how relevant that point is. I would imagine there are a number of there to be investigated to see if it comes up to the standard of so many in a certain radius.
Well, certainly number 25, which is a shared house, is not registered as a HIMO.
I must say it is quite unusual, Chair, for it to be done through a letting agency and things not been applied for licenses, etc., etc. We only normally find that's people that people normally do that privately.
That would be depending if the letting agency are the actual owner.
Would you like me to move the screen down?
Yes, please, yeah.
Of course, it's open to interpretation, Chair, but where it mentions about other 4 bedroom properties being allocated a drive and a garage, if there are no other 4 bedroom properties like that, could be seen to, if it's open to interpretation on character and appearance of the street. You could say that's being altered. If that's altered, that could possibly be an easement, and that could be a source of question.
Okay. Did you still got your hand raised, Clark? Is that still from before? Thank you. Anybody else got their hand up? No. Right. No. Okay. Do I have a proposal from the floor? Yes, Mr. Wan, as a guest. You want to...
Yes, I have sent in my comments, my objections a week ago, and it hasn't appeared on the manual.
All right, okay. I will check with the council in the morning then on that.
Yeah. Can I ask if it's not too much of an inconvenience for the gentleman, can we send it into the parish council and we can forward it on ASAP and be absolutely certain that the council, whether they've dealt with it or not, have actually seen this gentleman's objection?
I think the planning office had acknowledged it.
There seems to be an awful lot of documents going missing up in MK9, and it doesn't bode well with the public.
Thank
There's
you.
far more regularity with things going astray and things not being received than there has been before. And I'm sorry to say that in my experience, when people have complained to me, they're not supporters of the application, they're objectors. It's objecting or non-supporting documentation that's going astray. Make of that what you will.
What do you suggest I do?
Drop a copy into the parish office if you can.
Where is the parish office?
1 Pencarrow Place, Fishermead.
All right, okay.
Okay.
It's beyond the Trinity Centre, sir.
Yeah, just beyond the Trinity Centre, yeah. Near the co-op. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Golding.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just wanted to say, basically, can we make a note of that, stating that a objection was put in writing to the council and it hasn't appeared on the portal, and on those grounds, my suggestion would be is that we reject this application because we haven't been given the full information.
I would support that, Chair, for the simple reason is that whether an application is full of valid points or it's full of points but only a couple are valid, it's definitely indicating a feeling of support or objection. It doesn't matter what it is. It's fair enough to the public, and also if it goes to DCC, DCC will only be able to go on what is on the planning portal, what's in front of them, and anyone who happens to be in the public gallery. If that person's not in the public gallery and it's not in front of them, the councillors will not be able. The councillors who are judging the application of Milton Keynes Council will not be able to use that, and that is not democracy, Chair.
Thank you. Do you accept that, Ray?
Yeah, I accept that, Chair.
Thank you. Good. Councillor Baines, you wish to speak?
Yes, Chair. I'm sorry, I lost connectivity for a very short moment. There's something that you do need to check. Tracy needs to check out with regard to the new regulation, which has come through from government, that every new build should have an electric vehicle charging point. And that's a required regulation now from government. If it's not there, then that needs to be added.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And did you wish to mention about, Mr. Councillor Kenrick, did you wish to mention about your O development point?
No, I think I've covered everything that can already. I'm just concerned that no matter whether they support, object, or they're indifferent, if the public communication is not being received by Milton Keynes Council, if they don't deal with it, they don't deal with it. Okay, if it's not looked at, it's not looked at. Although I'll be disappointed with that, it should be registered on the public forum. and it isn't. That isn't democracy. If people take the trouble to find in Milton Keynes Council, it should be there, and it should be for everyone. Anyone who's interested in that, parish councils, developers, Milton Keynes Council, councillors who've got a difficult job on DCC, they need to be able to see everything. But I'm concerned with the amount of communication. We've seen it in Willen as well, where even our own communication has gone astray. And very often when people mention this to me, it's more than twice the amount that what goes missing is objections rather than supporting. I'm not suggesting anything, all I'm suggesting is that it's not gentlemanly, it's not cricket, and it's not democracy. And we need to sharpen up. As a city, we need to sharpen up to make sure that we're putting all the information for people to make judgments on, because they're making informed decisions on what they can see and read. If they can't see and read it, or don't even know it exists, they can't take that as part of their informed decision, whether they agree or disagree with that particular piece of literature.
Okay, thank you. Do you have that, Clark? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a note to make a note that that's not been recorded.
That's not been what, sorry?
That the objection has not been recorded on the Milton Keynes Council system.
Okay. Right.
Sure.
Anybody wish to add?
Sure, can
Yes,
I ask for clarification? If that complaint goes through, would that make any effect on this planning application?
No, I don't think we've got time for that. I think all we can really do is ask to refer to DCC.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say if we are unable to get enough information that will enable us to take a good decision, and so many objections as we can see, even the DCC is not reporting them, etc., etc. If we put up that complaint around that, would that hold on this application and request or make them look into it again, or will they brush it away and continue from wherever they stopped and not resolve them? I'm worried about it.
If I can explain, Chubo, the suggestion, if we haven't got the information and we need to, because we have complaints and people would like to put their complaints across, that is precisely the reason for asking to be dealt with by DCC.
Okay. All right, then that's fine by me.
And if I could just say, Chair, that's the reason why we need to emphasise now, it's not a councillor error, it's an administration error. We don't know why it's not on there, and it doesn't matter why it's not on there. Milton Keynes Council are responsible for putting it on there, and for whatever the reason is, it's not on there, and it should be on there. And we can't put anything on freeze frame or pause because they haven't done that. That's why we need to make a fuss about it now.
Agreed. So are we going to take a vote on this?
Chair, before you do, the fact that their objections are on the Milton Keynes website is not a material consideration for you for making decisions. Same as when it comes to Milton Keynes Council, the only time it can become a material consideration is actually at Development Control Panel or the DCC. And can I just remind you about an email that came out from Dominic to remind you that minors must go to DCP, asked to go to DCP, not DCC. Thank you.
Sorry, you're right. That's what I meant to say, that because we do not have the information, it needs to go to the panel, because we cannot make a decision without the panel, as well as us having thought, because we can't get the information in time, they need to have the information in front of them, because it's unfair to people that are objecting not being seen.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
It's a fundamental right to be heard, Chair, irrespective of who it is that's listening or watching. I understand what Terry's saying, but if it was any other thing that was going on in the community, like we're the eyes and the ears for Milton Keynes Council, the eyes and the ears are the people who live in that particular area. Okay, so in every other part of community life, that's something that needs to be addressed somewhere along the line, about or out, because if they're not our ears and eyes of what's going on around there, so we can make more decisions on the community's behalf. We're not making it on our behalf, or we're giving some education to Milton Keynes Council. We're doing it on the community's behalf. Therefore, we need to be listening to the community. If we can't do that under planning law, then that needs to look at, because again, that is not democracy. I don't care what the legislation says, that's not democracy. And if we want people to be elected on more than 21, 22%, that needs to change. And it needs to change right now.
Right, okay. So can we clarify the proposal, please? Tracy. You're on silent. You're on silent.
Sorry, right. I just wanted to point out this particular application has got a deadline for comments of the 11th of August. So members of the public have got up until that date to submit their comments. So this is obviously what we're looking at is a moment in time. There may still be further comments that members of the public wish to submit that any time up until the 11th. So this committee probably should make it their proposal based on the information available to them at the moment. But obviously there is still a number of days that any other members of the public can still log their objection, support, whatever.
Okay.
Of course, could I just say, Chair, there is a train of thought that we need not, if the gentleman doesn't want us to, say anything and see if it appears by the 11th, and then it doesn't appear by the 11th, and then the question should be asked. As regards to this gentleman's point of view, once the 11th's been and gone, he won't be able to do anything about it. I'm sorry, I do feel for a number of reasons, not just community representation, but every single day I tell young people about British values. And no British value is any greater than any other British value. And this government and previous governments, part of British values is democracy. I don't care whether you're planning, I don't care if you're DCLG, NLCG, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, whether you're paid, whether you're private or you're public. If the government said you need to be respecting British values, you need to be seen to be doing them.
Okay. Now, let's just stick to the proposal, please, or whatever we're doing with it, please.
Absolutely. I just wanted to explain, Chair, of why I think it's so important, because we should not be seen.
Can we know the proposal, please? Tracy.
Well, I'd appreciate some clarification on that myself, because it's evolved a little bit. But initially, the proposal came from, we had a proposal from Tubo, and then I think we've had a subsequent or an amendment to that from Darren.
Or from Ray, actually, the proposal was, I believe.
And I second it.
My proposal was that we should reject it on the grounds that a member of the public has joined the meeting and has informed us that the letter that they wrote in is not in the portal. So we can either then say part of that proposal says that we send it back to DCP and let them deal with it, because in theory we don't know what all that information is to understand with regards whether we can have no comment or whether we should be looking at a certain area to see if it complies with the appropriate legislation and building regs.
Okay, thank you. And did you second that, Darren?
I did second that before it become aware that what the public say don't actually make any difference to BCC. And so therefore, I can't support that. I can no longer second the motion in its entirety, purely for that reason. As much as I agree with it, yeah, I've got to go by planning law. But if I catch people doing what they shouldn't be outside, they'll be held accountable. If that means right to Whitehall, I will right to Whitehall. Okay, people need to be showing to be doing democracy, and they need to be doing their job without fear or favour.
Okay, thank you, Darren. Are you not seconding this now?
I am seconding it now. I can second that.
Within planning law.
Darren, thank you.
I can second that, Chair, if you want us to move on. And let's just refer it to DCC and with some comments about lose of information not received properly. So that's fine.
Okay. Did you want to speak, Terry?
Yes, Chair. Can I just say through you that to the member of the public that in reality his complaint or his objection needs to be in by midday on Tuesday, the 11th. Therefore, I suggest he sends it in again and sends a copy directly to Tracy.
That's right.
And then we, as a council, can then send that in to Milton Keynes Council and say the member of the public, as the second time he's sent it, will you please make sure it's raised? And I didn't say that it wouldn't be listened to by DCP about complaints. They always do have to read the paperwork, and it's only prated now. We don't get a full letter or an objection from members of the public. We get bullet points. So yes, I do agree with Darren to somewhat. There is a review hopefully going to be starting very shortly with planning at Milton Keynes Council. But I would highly suggest that we actually make sure that that this goes through, that his objection goes through again, and if necessary, send it by post as recorded delivery, because that way then you know exactly where it went and who got it. If you're going to do it recorded delivery, make sure it gets there by Thursday this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So we have the proposal and a seconder. Do we want to vote on that, please? Or raise your hands. So I don't know if the other bit's working. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any objections to that? Against? Any against? No. Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you. Have you got that recorded? Thank you. Right, okay, that's that item dealt with for the moment. In view of the patience of Mr. Andrew Herman, perhaps my suggestion would be that we move forward just quickly to 9I, because we need an update on Portland Drive, which I'm sure he can help us with, if that's okay.
Thank you, Chair. The Willand Residents Group received a letter from the Planning Inspectorate last week on Thursday about the inquiry scheduled for the 16th of September, stating that due to the COVID situation, the inquiry would need to take place physically due to the number of people interested in it, and also the complexity of some legal matters, and also giving evidence under oath. And due to it and the current government guidance, they're going to have to move the inquiry to January, which is clearly disappointing, but I guess not particularly unexpected. Milton Keynes Council don't believe that should happen. They believe the inquiry should take place virtually, which is against what the Planning Inspectorate believes can happen. And we've had an email today from the appellant, the owner of the property, stating that he wants the inquiry postponed until April or May 2021. Without really due explanation, other than the fact that he thinks the COVID situation will be worse in January than it is now. The planning inspector the inspector has suggested that there should be a pre-inquiry hearing, a virtual event on Microsoft Teams, to discuss there's some preliminary matters, but also the wording of the enforcement notice, which both the residents and also the appellant has raised quite a few issues with. We do support that, because we don't want to go down the route of having a full inquiry and then for the enforcement notice to be kicked out because it's not been well worded. The appellant has said that he doesn't think that should happen because of the cost involved in a pre-inquiry hearing. So that's where we are at the moment. But it's looking like another lengthy delay, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to come in on this? You want to come in, Darren?
Yes, Chair. I mean, obviously we want things resolved one way or the other, whichever it goes. Okay, but we've supported Milton Keynes Council to have the inquiry at an earliest opportunity. The planning inspector have decided that it should be September. Everyone was okay with that. Now the planning inspector have decided it should be held in January. I have no objection to that. I would also have no objections, despite how I feel about the application, about the applicant having his way and have it to April or March. What I am concerned with is that pre-September, it is not Milton Keynes Council's fault that it is not resolved, and so therefore any costs that should be incurred should not be incurred by Milton Keynes Council. So that is grossly unfair on Milton Keynes Council taxpayers, because a decision is being made on their behalf without any influence.
Okay, thank you, Darren. Does anybody else wish to speak on this? No. Okay. Well, thank you for updating us, Andrew. Anything that we take from here, we'll let you know. I'm sure there'll be a meeting at some stage where we need to put some some bits and pieces together for when it actually does take place.
Thank you. Can I just say additionally that we, as soon as that fourth enforcement notice was issued, the day after, we immediately raised concerns that it did not follow the resolution of DCC. It did not do what DCC resolved.
Yep.
And we have quite literally hit a ridiculous brick wall with Milton Keynes Council that they do not respond to us. They don't cooperate with us. They don't answer questions. They don't provide access to documents. I mean, we are literally put to one side, and it's just not acceptable. And the council have been told off by the planning inspector on multiple occasions now, just for their failure to cooperate with the residents, and it's just not acceptable. And it's very difficult to know where we go with that, because they're told one thing by the planning inspectorate and then they do something else, and we're still stuck in a situation that we still don't believe that enforcement notice complies with what the members of DCC resolved. And namely, our position has been since day one on this, that as soon as that notice was issued, the difference between the height difference between the first notice and the fourth notice is 0.5 metre. And somebody's miscalculated that within the council, but nobody will provide an explanation. Nobody will fix it. Nobody sorts it out for us. You know, it's just not acceptable that it keeps going on like this.
Okay, I think the phrase covering their backs comes to mind, but we won't develop that one. Okay, thank you, Andrew. If anybody else got anything to say on this, we'll move on. Thank you. We'll go back to the planning applications, which is a big part of what we do. Number 20/01704 FUL, first floor front side extension to number 6 Edrich Avenue, Oldbrook, Milton Keynes. This is basically converting a 4-bed to a 5-bed. As I've had a look at this, does anybody wish to speak on this? Nobody? Does anybody want to make a proposal? And if I don't want to speak on this? Nobody?
Well, I would suggest that if when we come to an informed decision on what we're going to do or not going to do, I would like to think whether it's support, object, or be indifferent and make no comment. It's a positive action rather than a negative or a passive reaction. So I would look: are there any grounds for concern for anyone who may be feeling that they should want to object to this, or the public may want to object to it? And are those grounds relevant in this particular case?
Glad you asked that, Darren. From my point of view, I can see no reason to object to it personally, having had a good look at it.
Can we ask the clerk if there is any objections on this she is aware of from any side, apart from what we're discussing today?
I'll just check the system. Hang on a second.
How was it me?
Gary? Sorry, Chair, I had my hand up.
Yes, Ray. Sorry, I just turned my phone off.
That's all right. Yeah, I've had a look at this today, and to be honest, I couldn't see any concerns whatsoever with regards to it, and I'm going to put a proposal forward to say that we have no comments.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder for that?
I will want to second that, but I still want the clerk to tell us if there's any bigger development we haven't had in terms of objections, and
Clark,
to guide us.
Sorry, Clark, can I come back on that? Because we've had discussions prior to these meetings, and that Tracy takes the time out to send us all these applications, and we should be reviewing them and looking at all the information prior to these meetings. It's different if we've got a certain element and we're looking for guidance or something like that, where if the plans are not right, or there's something amiss on the plans, but the documentation is in the portal and we're all supposed to read it before we come to the meeting.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Councillor Golding. Right, does anybody wish to, we want to vote on this or not? The proposal is no problem.
I have seconded it. If we can vote, it's okay. If all things are equal on this, that's fine.
Thank you. Can we vote on this, please? Click the hands, does it work? Or just hold them up, whatever, raise your hand. That's working now. Good, there we go, good. Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. No comment. Next one, proposed change of use from religious retreat to a Class D1 use, wellbeing treatment rooms, auxiliary offices, medical, nursing, student accommodation at St Michael's Priory, which is obviously part of Willen Hospice. Does anybody want to speak on this, or do we just do what we normally do with this type of thing? Yes, Ray.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, again, I looked at this again today. It looks like the main part of it is they're looking to change the chapel into like a retreat area rather than just using it as a chapel. So I have no problems with that, Chair. Thank you.
Can I speak?
You can, Val.
It's not a chapel. It was a monastery, the Sacred Mission. It's quite an extensive property. In their documents, they say about parking, that there is parking on site, but then they say, oh, there's additional parking down Newport Road. I had 2 occasions last week to visit Newport Road for the Robert Hooke play area. I struggled to park both times, so unfortunately I have an injured knee and couldn't walk from my house. And the parking on Newport Road was rammed. Also, while I was at the park with my grandson, I happened to see the Willen Hospice furniture van struggle to get into the premises because of the parking. So surely the public parking for people to access the park, the village green and the church is not for their use. They should be supplying their own parking. That's my whinge.
Okay, yes, Chibo.
Thank you, Chair. We can understand your whinge. So, but this is to do with this hospice. They seem to be conservative in terms of their development and changes. And we have, for some years now, been silent on their intended renovations or developments. And based on this, I'll probably be asking us to supporting Ray's opinion that we should make no comment on this and carry on.
Thank you. Darren?
Thank you, Chair. I can understand where Councillor Uranta's coming from, but I think we need to be very, very careful, ladies and gentlemen, that we're not swayed by who's asking for it and what they do. As much as I want to support this because of who they are and what they want to do, I cannot sway my principles and my thoughts on the impact on the community and the fairness of other people in this area and any other area with regards to car parking. If there is a car parking problem here, regardless of who it is and what they're going to use it for, and no matter how much empathy I've got and how much support I have for Willen Hospice, they have to be treated the same as anybody else. So if our stance on parking is that the parking is a concern, it needs to be addressed by the applicant, it needs to be addressed by every applicant, and it needs to be something we need to consider or not consider depending on the merits. Okay, we can't switch things on and off. That is also unfair and inappropriate. Okay, if we think there's a car parking problem, we need to investigate it, and then on its own merits, is there a car parking, yes or no? And it should not be determined about on who it is or what they want to use the application for.
Thank you. Councillor Baines.
Right, Chair. If it's a change of use, then a fresh parking standard may well be required. And if they say, well, you know, we've had it like this for years, it doesn't matter. Because it's a change of use, the parking standard has to be adhered. So you need to look at the parking standard and look at the parking standards for where this is. Again, I've just put it away, but I'm not sure what it is for holistic healing or anything like that. But again, it could be classed as a medical facility if they're doing healing, if it's actual healing there. So you have to look and see where it comes in, and then look at the parking standard. If it's not already at that standard, then they must apply to the new standard.
Okay, certainly from my point of view, they're making it quite clear there is quite a part of it being used for medical purposes, but they're also saying that respectively, in other words, have they already converted some of it to student accommodation, which again would have an effect on the parking. Perhaps Councillor Dixon could help me with that.
Yep. There are 2 bungalows on there that have always been accommodation from when it was a monastery. It was a holistic well-being place. It is now going to be medical. And from what I've seen, they're already there doing it. So I don't know about the proposed. The cars that I said were parked along the Newport Road amounted to 15 vehicles. So this isn't just a small overuse. I have no objection to Willand Hospice having it as their outpatients department. I think it's a good idea because they are needed more and more, but they can't just say in their plans that there is additional parking along the Newport Road when we want it. It's not there for their use, it is there for the public's use. But it's already being used by Willand Hospice, and it's to be an outpatients department. It was a holistic and wellbeing site, and there is obviously it was a monastery. There is accommodation already on there, and that probably isn't a problem. They do have a small car park on site, but they're making no plans for all these extra people.
Could I add something, Chair?
Yes, please.
Yes.
I just for clarity, I actually live next to the well, and they have been there for a number of weeks now. They took it out. It's been vacant essentially for a number of years as a religious retreat, and they have been there, including the Willand Hospice van has been there quite a few times. It might be worth talking to Peta Wilkinson, who's the chief exec of the hospice, because she's very proactive, willing to discuss with everybody in the community the plans and also any parking issues. I'm sure she would happily discuss with you, Councillor Dixon, because they really do. They work well with the community, and there have been problems they know about on Milton Road with parking. It's a very narrow street anyway, and we don't want the same on Newport Road. So I think it might be worthwhile making contact with her and actually discussing the parking issues, because Newport Road has been really horrendous recently, and a lot of people have been travelling to Willand Lake, parking there, and it's got a very limited amount of parking spaces, and certainly the hospice shouldn't be using the parking spaces opposite the Robert Hook Park. Thank you.
Okay, so did we have a proposal, please?
Yeah, could I just say that I agree with all those comments that were there, but also, if it's classed as a medical facility, there may be times when people are, and this is a lovely facility in a lovely area. I have been and visiting there on a number of occasions for different reasons, conference, community training, etc., etc. And it is a lovely facility. If it's going to be used for medical purposes, there may be times when people are visiting that area. Yeah, and also actually visiting that particular facility where the medical facilities, according to their situation at that given time, their medical changes. So therefore, the amount of parking spaces that are there now may not be the amount of parking spaces they can afford going forward, because there may well be restrictions on the area behind a vehicle. How close can somebody do it if it's a wheelchair? It may well be that somebody needs higher medical attention while they're already at well because there's situations in period. Yeah, and we need to make sure that, like the rest of the community, the blue light don't have a problem. The blue light don't have a problem getting into somewhere like that, and getting people out. The fire brigade don't have a problem because if all else fails, they just keep going. But the police and ambulance can't do that. The police and the ambulance have got to rely on people being considerate. And unfortunately, that isn't always the case. But what I must say, for that area of the parish, people are generally considerate or not unconsiderate. Sometimes they just don't.
Okay, thank you, Darren. Do we have a proposal? Did we have a proposal, or was there no comment, or what was said? Or I need something from the floor.
I would like to just object to the parking facilities.
I support that. I think it's definitely, you know, it's no good sorting out problems after the event. If there is a problem there, if the problem is there, it needs to be sorted out before anything changes, not afterwards. That's the mistake that we've made as a city time and time again.
What is the proposal? Thank you. But thank you, Darren. What is the proposal?
Well, I think
the parking facilities.
What, clarification, or what do you want?
I don't know what we're allowed to do. They shouldn't just be willy-nilly parking down Newport Road. This is the same happened with this Buddhist Vihara. They put down their parking as being Aldrich Drive. So can we object to their parking proposals?
I believe we can. I believe we can, Chair. And
hold on a minute. Hold on. Right. There's nothing in the change. They're not asking for anything to do with parking on here. They're just proposing a change of use.
It states in their paperwork that they have parking on site, which they do, and that any excess they can just park down Newport Road, and that is their wording.
Well, if that's their wording, I haven't seen that, in which case that is incorrect, because that is public parking, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I read it.
A mistake or otherwise, Chair, we cannot rely on parish wardens, traffic wardens, Milton Keynes Council officers and officers of the law to police how people park or do not park. The issues need to be resolved at this stage, not try and cure them after the event.
Yes, Terry.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Can I just advise, this is a change of use. Therefore, you need to work out from the planning that they've put in, application they put in, how many parking spaces they require through the parking standards. You know, it's okay just saying that there's not enough parking, but if they meet the parking standards, there's nothing you can do about it, and you're going to make and you will look stupid. You need to know what the standard is, and you need to know what their allocated parking is, and then what they're saying is unallocated parking. Just remember that anything out on the street can be considered as unallocated parking for any vehicle that is legally allowed on the road. So you have to be very careful there.
Correct. So do we want to move this on?
Yeah, if there's nothing we can do, I just won't be happy.
Well, if you make a proposal, make a proposal. I mean, I've not had a chance to look at this properly, so that's why I've not said much.
Can I make a suggestion, Chair, that people may want to consider what our advisor has just pointed out and follow my instructions on being fair to these people, okay, and being fair to the community. We're only raising things that are relevant to Milton Keynes Council to make their job as fair and as easy as possible. Yeah, and Google Milton Keynes Council parking standards. It brings up a lovely PDF with a nice colour photograph on the front. And I would imagine within there is our answer on whether the parking standards are met or not. Okay, as much as we've got sympathy with the community, if the parking standards are met, parking standards are met. Yeah, if there's another reason, then when we look at the other reason, if they don't meet the parking standards, then that's something we may want to consider as objection, Chair.
Okay, Darren. Well, Darren, let me make a suggestion, Darren. If you're happy, then, if that's what you say, if you're happy to leave that to be investigated and dealt with by the Chair of Planning and the Clerk, I'm happy with that.
I wouldn't be averse to that, Chair, but I would want this committee to be making a full decision and have a rough idea. I wouldn't expect them to have the depth of yourself or Councillor Baines on parking standards, but I would expect any members of this committee to have a rough idea on what the parking standards are and how near the parking standards are being met here to see if they're close to the line or not. Obviously, if they're not close to the line, then parking's irrelevant. If they are close to the line, how close to the line they are, and is it going to make a difference in this particular case?
Well, that's my suggestion. My suggestion is that we deal with it, and we've got to move this forward. Otherwise, we make no comment. It can't be held over to the next meeting.
Did you say allow yourself and the clerk to go ahead with investigating the planning?
Deal with it, yes.
Yeah, I would propose that.
Okay, for a start for 10, Chair, does the electric parking points, is that relevant? Yeah, because if there isn't sufficient electric points, that's a point of concern to start with. That's without how many spaces you've got, what you might have.
Just let us deal with it.
Oh, well, you do whatever you think is best then, Chair.
No, I'm trying to do best for the council. I'm making a suggestion.
Yes, and so am I, Chair. That's why I've suggested what I've suggested. Yeah, I'm going through it. The first thing that's come to spring to my mind, the question that was asked in a previous application for something that's going to be a change of use. And I was told that having electric charging points were a consideration. It is, despite what we think, or Milton Keynes Council think of, Phil, the government said it needs to be there. So if it's not there,
new build. That was for new build.
Yeah, but this is for, I thought it was for a change of use as well. It wasn't for a new build, it was for garages. The garages were being converted into dwellings. Yeah, and so therefore a new dwelling needs the facility for an electric point. That was my understanding from the guidance, and that is new government guidance that I didn't know about, so I attended this meeting. It's up to you guys. But if we go along the way we've got at the moment, I'm going to have to abstain. Because we need to be fair and give have duty of care, due diligence to everybody, and that means making a full decision on everything that's possibly in front of us. And at this present moment in time, I don't think we've got that.
Darren,
That's my opinion.
I am not responding to you. I'm just responding to the chair. But nobody is looking at doing anything that is outside our scope. I did mention looking at who is applying for this and who is trying to make this change, make this change. And it is our Czech-wide institution called Parish. And I said to us, in as much as we know them and they've been operating there for a long time, and we should give them a bit of leeway that they have in operating within the law. But I'm happy that Val and yourselves came up with this view. Hang on, I'm talking. Came up with this. And I am of the opinion that please, can we leave it to the chair and the clerk to look after, and I am also trusting them that they will go around, having heard from everybody here, and come up with a good decision. Thank you, Chair.
Point of order, Chair. Again, I'm going down the same road again tonight. It doesn't matter where in the parish it is. It doesn't matter whose name is on the application form. It doesn't matter who it's for, who's using it, or why they want to change it. We need to make it on the specifics of planning and not be swayed by anything else. If we're swayed by anything else, it's potentially illegal, because everybody needs to be changed.
Darren, that's all I've suggested. That's all I've suggested we do. which is why I said we'll look at it if you want me to do that. If not, fine, vote against it. It's as simple as that. We're having no more discussion about it. We make a decision one way or the other.
The other councillors was saying about the merits of the applicant. The merits of the applicant.
Listen to that. I'm saying I would look at it purely on law.
And that's what I'm doing to Chair. So the track record of the applicant is irrelevant, whether we know whether they've been operating there 50 years or 5 minutes.
Don't need to discuss that anymore.
Darren, please leave it for them to look after. They are going there for our interest, and they're going to look at it purely through the law. If whatever you've advised them this evening is among, if whatever is
thank you, Chubo. I've got that, Chubo. I've got that. Thank you. So can we make a decision or not, one or the other? Because we need to move on.
Yes, I will support that.
Let's go for it, Chair. Recorded vote.
Want a recorded vote? Did you say?
Yes, please. Recorded vote. And I think
okay,
we'll know why it's been called.
Right. Okay. So can we get through the proposal again, please, Tracy, just so everybody knows?
The proposal is that the chair and the clerk investigate this application in line with the parking standards.
Thank you. Do you want to ask individually how they want to vote then, please? Do you want to record this, please, Tracy?
Okay, do you want to do it by show of hands or by individual?
No, I'll do it by names.
Okay, Brian.
Councillor Golding.
Yeah, 4.
Councillor Dixon.
4.
Councillor Aranta.
4.
Councillor Kendrick.
Abstain.
Councillor Horton Davis. She's still here? Is Penny here?
She's currently muted.
Hello? Are you still muted, Penny? Well, we can't get an answer off her, can we? So, I mean,
oh, she might be on. She might be on handset. You know, one of them things that wouldn't let her unmute.
Hold on. Penny, can you hear us? No, I can't do it. Okay. Is it just me, is it?
Yeah.
I'll go 4, thank you.
Can I just respectfully remind the Chair that without actually looking for that specific point, just looking for a point, 2.4 in the parking standards SPD turns around and tells you about the new requirement for electric parking spaces. And I found that tonight without digging for it.
Okay. Right, okay, thank you. Right, next one is number 3. Here's the erection, talking of electrics and whatever, of 5G communication mast, 22.5 in height with associated cabinets at site in Waterside Pear Tree Bridge. Is this not the one that came up before? Clark, can I help?
Oh.
Yes, right.
This is the one that came up previously in the Woughton area. I believe this is that the committee decided to make comment on, although it was just outside of our boundary. And I believe this is a new application, but in a slightly different location.
All right. Okay. So really, as you say, it's not in our area. So
Chair.
Yes, right.
Yeah, sorry. I'll just to clarify with Tracy, that is correct, Tracy. What they've done is they've just tried to relocate it a bit further. In a different place, but with regards, it sits outside of our boundary, if I'm correct. And to be honest, when I had a look at this, there is I think there was about 4 or 5 representations of objections on the portal regarding it. From some of it, I thought was irrelevant because they were quoting COVID-19. And why they try to put a mast up while COVID-19 is on, down to that the technology has not been ratified enough and passed and so on and so forth. But I don't think, if I remember correctly, we didn't have we had a no comment last time as well in its location before. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Cheers. Okay. Anybody else want to speak on it?
Chair, I will suggest or ask us to make no comment on this, Chair.
Okay. Did you want to speak on it, Terry?
I just want to clarify the fact that even though it's outside your boundary, you have every right to speak on it. You have every right to put an objection in because it's within the range for it to hit our residents with the radiation and everything else. So therefore, you do have the right. There is a problem in that I do believe that many of these 5G masts are going to go up anyway under the new regulations.
Okay, so you propose no comment, have you, Jubo?
Yes, Chair. Actually, in addition to that, it is 5G. I don't know whether you guys received any communication regarding that being buried on our soil across the patch. I received it as individual here, and that was sometime in either April or May. They buried so many things, on here. They're all 5Gs, and so is this one different apart from the mask?
Don't know. Can't answer that. That's not what's being proposed.
So
therefore, you're proposing that. Is anybody seconding it?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay. Thank you. Can we take a vote on it, please? Raise your hands. Anybody abstaining or against? Okay, right. Next one is change of use and subdivision of existing retail unit and installation of mezzanine to create a number of hot food takeaway and a number flexible A1, A5 unit at ground level and number 1 office at mezzanine level. Installation of extraction, ventilation equipment, associated alterations to Unit 615 Duckworth Court, Milton Keynes. The consultation closes today, I believe. So.
Yes, the consultation closes today, so any response I will submit immediately after this meeting.
Okay, does anybody want to speak on it? Darren?
I welcome that it's being brought back into use, no matter what it's things. I would expect that when it's been considered, all the things with regards to odours, etc., from the hot food takeaway into consideration. And I would ask the committee to consider the consideration with Milton Keynes Council is when Domino's Pizza were allowed to open or continue to be open late at night, it was for stock taking and cleaning only, not for deliveries. Please remember, it might be flanked by the railway, but it's still a residential area, and we do have a 24-hour society, so I do want minimum impact for the residents in that area. We don't want to see people racing up and down, collecting and delivering pizzas.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's not in the same area. It's the other side of the road.
It's 15 Duckworth Court, Chair.
Yeah.
It's where we considered at one time.
Yeah, it's the other side of the road to Domino's.
Yeah,
it's the other side of the road to Domino's.
No, what I'm saying is that Lidl's centre, okay, is surrounded by houses. This development has houses all around it. And when Domino's Pizza were open and they wanted to extend their hours into the early hours of the morning, Milton Keynes put a stipulation in for the public that if they remained open after a certain time in the evening, I think it was 11 o'clock, it was for stock taking and cleaning purposes only, not for the public to collect pizzas or for them to go out delivering pizzas and come back from delivering the area, because obviously late at night the noise is magnified and cars are a lot more or vehicles are a lot more noisy than they used to be, and you potentially have people that are getting up at 6 in the morning being woken up at 1 o'clock in the morning by people coming and going with the hot food takeaway. That's the only thing I'm saying, Chair, and it may upset some residents if this goes ahead and the hot food takeaways open to 3 or 4 in the morning. Don't forget, people will be coming back from the train station. Yeah, they will be coming out the nightclubs, etc., when COVID is over, if COVID gets there, if we ever get there. And so therefore there will be.
Darren, can I stop you there, Darren? We can't make assumptions of what houses are going to be open till 4 in the morning. Same way as we can't make assumptions houses are going to be HIMOs. We've just got to look at what's put here.
But it's a hot food takeaway, Chair. Oh, I'll give up. Okay, well, all right, okay, point taken.
Terry.
Chair, some of what Darren was saying is actually right. Now, in the planning application, have you looked at the times that it's actually scheduled to be open?
No.
Right. Can I suggest that you do that? Okay. And also remember, there is no such thing as precedent. There is a Papa John's right beside this. Okay. Yes. I believe this is the bath store.
Yes,
it is. It is.
Okay. So there's a precedent. There is a precedent that what times places are open, but you can't go by precedent. But what you can do, if you believe that it's going to increase the number of people late or early in the morning, then look at it. Have a look at the times it's open, and then make that decision once you've looked at it. You cannot make a decision unless you know what times it's open. Thank you.
Just things to consider, Chair. Thank you very much for that, Terry. I'm very, very sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm almost losing the will to live here. Thank you.
Anybody else, Val?
No, I couldn't see anything I could really object to. I think they normally put in times and limits of noise and things on most things. So I think that might go already be considered.
That will be very much open to whoever the councillors are on that DC on that particular night. If it doesn't occur to one of them to bring that up, they won't consider it. Yeah, don't forget this is a very hard job for these people. It's very, very complex information, very complex legislation. Yeah, they do sometimes they have difficulty by disquiet and discomfort in the public gallery. And so therefore, things that may not have been brought up in this at the time, yeah, might not be brought up. Councillors may not think of things after the event. They're human beings. They can't think of anything and everything. And it is no good relying on officers to bring up every single relevant point. We need to collate and collaborate with everybody, yeah, to bring up the possible scenario to make the best informed decision, or allow, but we're not making the decision, we're making recommendations or suggestions or giving guidance because we've got the local, more in-depth local knowledge, okay? But the councillors are there to make the most informed decision there is possible, okay? Yeah, yeah. And there may not be anyone on DC.
Can we move this on, Darren? You heard you say. Can we move this on?
Yeah. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with Chair with the reaction here, some of the vocal and the body language. Okay, so.
What?
I'm going to go with whatever you say, Chair. Despite
I'm not saying anything, I'm looking for a suggestion from the floor.
Well, you're not going to get it from me, Chair, because I'm not going to make any suggestions anymore. I'm going to go with the flow.
Chair, my hands is up. Can I say something?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Just like Val said, I cannot see, apart from time, and which I am reasonable, I'm believing that they will be reasonable enough to know, or a limit their time can reach. If there's nothing mentioned on the time which I cannot see here, and I will be asking us not to object or make no comment and let it pass. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I second no comment.
Did someone propose that then? That's a proposal, was it, Tubo?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, right, thank you. Want to vote on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who votes no comment? 3 of you? 1, 2, 3. Any against? Any abstentions?
Against is 1. Against is 1. Abstention is 1. So we can see that.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Abstention.
Okay. Can I have my against recorded, please? Thank you.
Next one. Replacement conservatory to the rear of the property at 1 The Hook, Willen. Anybody wish to comment on this?
Yes, please.
Okay.
This is a strange little housing of 4 properties which was formed in part of the Willen Hospice site. They're quite nice establishments, and this is just the replacement of a conservatory, so it's in keeping with what is already there, albeit in a conservation area.
Okay, anybody else? So what's your proposal, Val?
No comment.
I
Seconding that?
I second that, if possible.
Okay. Want to take a vote on it if nobody wants to speak? All in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? One abstention. Okay. Next one, single story side and front extension at 51 The Boundary, Oldbrook. Any Oldbrook councillors had a look at this apart from me?
Yes,
Well,
Chair, I had a look at the plans. I couldn't see that there was any major issues around it, to be honest.
No, I couldn't either.
Okay, there was one objection on it. Or not, no, there was one notification on it, not an objection. The guy put in that just keep an eye on it, that the guy's not converting it to make it available as a house of multiple occupation. But again, we cannot take that into consideration. We can only just note what he has written, and that's it. Terry, did you want to speak? You got a hand up? Okay, right. Okay, so it's a proposal, no comment?
Yeah, seconded.
Anybody else? Do you want to vote on that?
Yeah.
Any against? Any abstentions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next one, single story rear extension at 104 Aldrich Drive, Willen. Anybody want to
I had
speak
a
on
look,
it?
couldn't see anything we could object to. So I
Anybody
propose.
else want to speak on it? No? So is your observation no comment, Val?
It is.
Anybody want to second that?
Yes, please. I second that.
Okay, want to vote on it?
Yes, please.
Anybody abstaining?
Mhm.
Okay. Next one, front and rear extensions to garage and conversion into a bedroom with ensuite at 61 Padstow Avenue, Fishermead. Anybody want to speak on this?
Chair, it's unfortunate that these things, our clerks are not, I don't know how to find them on the, I did drive around to see them, but I don't know how to find them on internet. I thought the clerk would be giving us a bit of a head up with regards to the planning, the plans and possible documentations on this, but we're just getting them across. If we can see what is proposed in terms of the rear and front extension, then it would have been better for us some time. Remember, some of these garages could be overdeveloped and not the rest of them. So it would have been better for us to see what is being proposed before we decide on it. Thank you, Chair.
Terry?
Chair, I'm surprised this has actually gone as an application because I think this is permitted development. It's not big enough to be. It's not big enough to go over the permitted development footprint, and I really don't understand why they put it in. I do understand why some people are putting it in and why Milton Keynes Council aren't objecting to them putting it in because they're gaining money. And this will be this. If you don't object to it and don't put it to DCC or DCP, this will be dealt with by an officer and will be given delegated decision.
I mean, personally, I just think it needs building regs.
It has to have building regs. You can't do anything about
Simple as that. That's what I mean. That's all it needs.
Yeah, exactly. And as for what Tubo just said, if he's struggling to get into the internet, at some point, if you want me to, I will run a training on the use of the Milton Keynes planning portal.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. The only thing that came to me, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's I thought they were just slightly extending the front of the garage. And because it's an attached garage, would it require an additional party wall? Information. That was the only concern I had. Thanks, Chair.
Chair, party wall decisions and everything else, and agreements have nothing to do with planning.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that, Terry. I'll take that on board now.
Cheers.
Anybody else want to speak on that? What's the proposal, please?
I'll propose no comment, Chair.
I'll second that.
Okay. You want to take a vote on that one? All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Next one, 2-storey rear extension at 20 Wardle Place, Oldbrook. We've had a good look at this. I made an application in 2014 for bits and pieces, but it's a family home, looks fine to me. Anybody else had a look at it today, or? Yep. Yes, Ray.
Yes, again, the only thing that concerned me, it's quite a large extension on the rear, and it seemed to take up quite a large part of the garden. And I know that there's a regulations surrounding how much square footage of garden. I didn't know because it didn't say how large the garden was against the footprint of the extension right across the back, Chair.
Well, when I looked at the plot, it didn't look too big to me, but there you go. Okay. That's all I can say from what I looked at, but yeah. Anybody else? Shubo, you want to speak?
I've seen the plot as well. I went around to look at it. I found nothing strange on it, so I will be proposing no comment.
Okay, thank you. Anybody want to second that?
Yeah, I'll second that, Chair.
Want to vote on it? No comment. Anybody abstain? Thank you, Darren. Cheers. Thank you. Right. Okay. Now we've got notifications of a certificate of lawfulness for the proposed single-storey rear extension. That's just a notification, and also a non-material amendment for the formation of a porch elevation and relocation of a skylight at 2 Linford Lane and changing the colour. It's because this is in that area, isn't it? But it's just a notification. Licensing notification.
You have one tabled application that's being tabled tonight, planning application. I don't know whether you want to take that at this point. Yeah.
Have we?
It's been sent by email and it was emailed out on the tabled report today.
I saw that.
I've not had a chance to see anything, so I don't know. I've been too busy.
It's one application.
It's 20/01796/FUL. It's a conversion of an existing carport / garage, in addition to a new external side door at 60 Porthleven Place, Fishmead.
Oh, yes.
There was a number of comments, Chair, and one of them was from TVP, which was regarding the moving of the front door to the side alley. Their concern under the sort of general protection and well-being and that around this entry coming out into an alleyway and so on and so forth, which indicated that the door is still remaining on the front, but it looks like they're going to convert the garage. It's saying it's going to be a gym, but it's got a shower and toilet. So it's going to be a one-bedroom flat, I think, on the ground floor.
Okay. Yes, Terry.
Chair, can I ask you to take notice of the concerns from Thames Valley Police. That's all I'm asking the committee to do. This is some of the parts that you would have heard at our council meeting when I asked about the conference and the problems we've got. And I'm sure Darren is going to tell you about the problems we've got with the other two houses in the area where they put the doors without planning permission.
Can you enlighten me on that, Darren, please?
Yes, I can enlighten you that, Chair. One of them is in Carrow Place. It's the alley where the student accommodation is on the very end. On the other end, the door has been moved into the alley, and it has also happened in the same property in Porthleven Place, which is just by the Barbers or Business Centre. This was brought to the attention of Milton Keynes Council. They chose not to do anything about it. I applaud the police for doing this, but I'm not too sure whether police should be commenting on planning applications because they're apolitical. I don't object to it, but I've not heard of it before. But where you've got two that have already been done and Milton Keynes Council have raised no concerns, no objections over it whatsoever, I am a bit surprised that the police haven't been if they're concerned about it now, they haven't been concerned about it before. But I do understand the concerns and I do support the concerns, but I'm a little bit concerned that the horse has long since bolted. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to speak again, Ray?
Yes, Chair. Actually, one of the house actually opposite me has got a door down the alleyway, and it's quite often frequented by people using it as a bit of a rat run for certain activities of passing pieces of information or other items backwards and forwards. And I think we should take note of what TVP are saying. It's about looking, like Darren has said, looking at our job is to look at it from a community point of view and of our residents. And what the police are actually saying is that it's a hot spot for crime, and there's no way that someone coming out of that door has got a clear escape route if something was to happen. So that's what they mentioned in their report when they put it into as their comments with regards to this planning application.
I have been brought up at different meetings, Chair. I even had an audience with Councillor Baines on one occasion with a senior person from the planning team. And I got absolutely no response whatsoever. It was rubbish, the fact that this was going to be causing a problem. And I think that is a statement of what planning is like in Milton Keynes, and it's still going on now. It just sounds. It really does. If I was the chief executive, I'd be ripping the air out by now, because this particular corner is letting the whole of Milton Keynes Council down, and that is no reflection on DCC or DCP. This is purely on the administration department of this particular sector.
Okay, Terry.
Thanks, Chair. The reason you're now seeing this from TVP is because of the actions taken by this council with regard to their ignoring their statutory role within planning and not commenting on things like this. And at the same time, where the likes of myself and Darren Kendrick went to TVP and went to planning and said, this has got to be sorted. Fortunately, parts of it have. And I think, again, I will reiterate what I said. Please take notice of TVP.
So I'm led to believe that we should listen to their guidance and phrase our comments to this accordingly.
Yes, I would like to make that proposal, Chair. And I would also like us to consider that each time that this comes up with, we take notice of what the police have said in this instance, and then looking at the instance where somebody else joined the door, and are they not dissimilar? And if they're not dissimilar, we should be following the same advice again every time this is being asked to be done by somebody.
Thank you, Darren. So that's your proposal, Ray?
Yeah, I was just going to comment. As I said, when I looked at it, there is still a door in the front, so there is no requirement for a door down the alley. Because if it's a gym, he can just walk through the gym into the house anyway.
Yeah, fine. Thank you. Val, did you want to speak or?
No, I think we ought to back up Thames Valley Police as best we can.
Okay.
The only thing you can say is with the president's
Vote on that?
Yeah.
Sorry?
With the president's chair, what you can say is that with those, they are actually, and if they've got the blessing of the local authority, why wouldn't they? They'd be very open. There is no front door at the front because the value of the room is more so because it's got a bigger area that's working if the door is on the side. Okay?
Exactly.
In this particular thing, the door is there, but you may find, like before law change, you may find there was an awful lot of garages in Fishermead or in Honeyborough where there was no door. The door didn't open. The wall was on the other side. It had already been converted. They were just running the time down on it. You may find that this door that's now at the front, that's always been at the front, will probably never be used again, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to vote on that?
Sorry, what are we voting for, sir?
For the proposal that we take note of what has been said, what Tracy's got it down, what Darren's proposed. We take notice of what TVP have said and wholeheartedly object to it.
If we are
voting on this or not, Tubo?
I am voting for an objection of this application.
Yes, we all are.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Right, thank you. Done. Carry. Was there any more, Tracy? Was it just that one?
Just that one.
All right, okay.
Chair, before you close the meeting, may I just bring something to your attention with regards to a HIMO on Fishermead that I think you as a planning committee need to look at. I can't do it, obviously, because I'm on DCC. So if you wouldn't mind me doing that quickly. I was stopped by a resident who's on the top floor of number 49 Mullion Place, which is an unlicensed, unplanned HIMO, who tells me that the landlord there is so strict that he's actually now, because he can't see what's going on inside the building, he's actually removed all the doors from the rooms. This is a HIMO. This is an unlicensed HIMO. It is a HIMO that has no planning in an area that has almost 57% of the buildings within the limit as HIMOs. And I ask that the committee take a look at this. And at the same time, can I implore you, please, to resurrect the HIMO working group? Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, on that basis, I've been doing some work, as Tracy knows. Already, I've found one or two on Fishermead, on Springfield. I've found a couple of websites advertising these rooms to let. And I'm following that up anyway. And we certainly need to get the committee again together. Yeah. Okay, we take that on board. Okay, any other business before I close the meeting?
Yes, Chair. I don't know whether I think every one of us must have heard about the new campus on the green, and I don't know which unit that was supposed to be looking after it. I was present there yesterday, and when it
let me stop it. That's been dealt with. Bailiffs have been there. They're turning up again tomorrow. If you follow your emails or whatever, or your phone calls, you'll know what's going on, and that's been dealt with.
I am just.
And it's buildings and property portfolio, Chair.
I am just putting it on the notice here. Not that I don't know what is going on, because I was just saying it for saying it.
Can I, Chair? Can I make a statement on that then, please, so that everybody's aware? The bailiffs arrived today at 10:30. Yeah. They issued a preliminary notice. They've been to court. They've got it signed off. So 24 hours after that, it can be issued, and the bailiffs will remove them. They will be there. We have police presence. This group has been rather nasty to the bailiffs and to people around there, and they believe they will have trouble tomorrow. So police will be there. It is a buildings and property portfolio issue because it's on our land, but as per normal, our officers jumped on it. I informed the clerk an hour before they moved on that there were people scouting around and that they were looking to get on there. And again, I applaud our officers for the job they've done. They've managed to get the bailiffs and all the legal side done, and we have extra security inside the depot. Thank you.
Okay.
Could I add to that, Chair? I just wanted to say I'd like to commend the Chair of Council, Clerk of Council, and our Properties Officer, John Clinton, for the excellent response and the speediness and the efficiency of this. And of course, it comes on the back of one before on both occasions. Absolutely first class service. And well done, Dominic. Well done, John. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Right. That's it. Good. Hopefully they'll all be moved tomorrow without any trouble, as you say. I believe these are.
Chair?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Chair? You mentioned, I'm not too sure whether it was one for this committee or it was mentioned in full council, that you were looking at how this committee meets with regards to time periods. I just want to ask the question as to say, have you thought anything more into that, and are you able to share anything with us at this point?
In view of the fact that this is the only committee this month, I wasn't pursuing it this month as there's a lot of holidays, but certainly I think in line with what Milton Keynes Council allow us to do time-wise, we should have him every 4 weeks. So I know it's going to upset people, and I know it's going to upset the apple cart in times of the month, but at least we are on top of it. That's my view. That's a personal view. Obviously, the committee will have to back me or say no, whatever, but that's my personal view. I was leaving that till next month when we're all back at all committees and we can look at how we fit it in rather than this month. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, Chair. And if you heard me laughing, I wasn't laughing at you, Chair. I was laughing at the humour of facial expressions of Councillor Golding. It was all done in a very good spirit.
Absolutely.
I fully support what you're thinking and what you'd like to do.
Well, Councillor Kendrick, please. As you will imagine that we are laughing. Nobody got an offence about that. I found your offence easy. You trigger being angry or unnecessarily because of somebody's body language and not dress on them. I will plead with you, please, to be kind with every one of us.
Thank you, Chubo.
We might be having different.
Meeting's finished. Thank you very much. Meeting's closed.
Brian, we seem to have skipped item 6, 6A, 6B, 7.
We don't like it.
Right, okay. Look at the present time that I'm aware of, and consultations. Do we have any? No. Okay. Date of next meeting, Monday, 7th of September. And then we will decide if we want one 4 weeks after that and 4 weeks following that, which we will do at committee if you're happy with that. Stop shaking your head, Ray.
You started again.
May I stop the recording?
You can. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you.